I actually only used one-way roads for today's city build. If you are interested how that's gonna work out and all the challenges alongside this, well, stick with me while we are terraforming a lot, doing some roadworks, and after all, we also do a lot of zoning, and trust me, we talk about a couple of challenges. But before, let's listen to today's sponsor and then we get going. Special thanks to our sponsor of today's video and the sponsor of the channel. Instant Gaming is a wonderful platform on which you can get your favorite games to a great value. Here you've got 24/7 support, you've got over 10,000 games at your hand, and you can find them very simple via a search bar, just like our Planet games over here. Or if you fancy, have a look at Cities, for example. Everything is here, including all the DLCs you wish to have. So special thanks again to Instant Gaming. Link is in the description. If you want to grab a game, please click there and have fun. I must add though that there are some really good values in there still at the moment, even after Black Friday, so really worth a little look. But now let's get into the actual build, and that was a lot of fun. As you can see at the beginning, I was just shaping the map a little bit to my liking. I gotta say, it's about time that I get into the map editor. I'm still juggling with the in-game maps and do shape them to, you know, what I want to make them look like. But the problem still is that you're limited in resources, limited in tools to make it really work that way. You'll see later on, there's a fun little flooding going on that I haven't noticed. I left my computer unoccupied for over 2 hours, and yeah, you'll see what happens with the city in this time. It's a bit of a madness, but yeah, it was required to make the city grow. One thing I wanted to do is to take these two like major islands in here. I kind of figured would work well for my build, and I just prepared them, and after I have done so, I already went straight into building the road layouts and stuff like that. I was actually, you know, shaping it later on again while I was doing the build, just kind of minor things at the beginning. I was deleting the highways as soon as I got building, but yeah, as you can see, checking out a bit of the minerals and resources we have to shape the city. But yeah, the entire build is completely pre-planned, so I haven't had the city growing at any time during the process of layout building. You see, I'm only using one-way roads, and to be honest, I also used only 3 variants mainly, and that was the 4-lane road, the 2-lane small road, and also the highway connection road. These 3 types were the only ones I used. To be fair, the traffic at the end of this video is kind of heavy and problematic, at least in 2 areas of the city, but I must admit that overall the traffic is surprisingly well. The only thing that is surprisingly horrible is the public transport, which is down to the fact that creating all of these, you know, public transport, well, tracks and different, you know, regions with tram connections and stuff like that is just horrible, because you only have one side to connect them to, and then the pathfinding of the different you know, vehicles is kind of a little madness. But honestly, at the end, I mostly succeeded in making sure that you have some really cool different ones going on. I really do like how this all turned out, to be honest, because this entire build was just like a little fun challenge. I was like, you know, I wanted to have like a one-off build, a city that just works after I've finished. And you can see these are the 2 main roads I created over here. So we've got like 2 circles connecting and overlapping at 2 points, which were the 2 points that lead into the major urban center of the city, which I figured will be the area where everything is growing. We also have the train station connecting there, we have the trams connecting there, we'll have a subway station there, we'll have the buses get there. So this is the central area of focus. This is where most of the commercials will sit, this is where most of the offices will sit. So in my imagination, that really worked out already at the beginning, and it was quite a fun challenge to lay out the entire city already at the beginning, and also trying to make sure that with the one-way roads I maintained a certain, well, continuity in where you can go through the city. I just didn't want to have like fully straight on from left to right versions of it, because that will eventually also lead to some traffic jams, and I wanted to get some spicing up into it by just having some different areas connecting to each other with only one way in and one way out, and then just trying to control a little bit better where the way in and where the way out goes, so that I have a bit more control over where the different live-in quarters will connect to. So you can see this is one of the ways I connected the main, I want to call it the raised circle, because we have a lowered and a raised circle. The raised circle is the inner circle, and the lowered one is the outer circle that connects the suburban areas. But as we all figure, we also need some industrial zones, and oh my goodness me, the industrial zones were quite a challenge. I did cut a bit of away because there was so much annoyance going on where I just messed up big times. But there's like the second island mainly focused on industrial zone, and that one surprisingly works super well at the end. I managed to have a lot of bigger industries laid out very nicely at the beginning. Then we have some farmland down there, and we also have some you know, ore mining up here in this region, and it seems like this drags like a lot of employees, and so that is cool because the whole area is not getting too big. Also, if you spot all the icons popping up, this is mainly due to the fact that whenever I reload it into the game, it just for a split second is in play mode, and then it just kind of starts annoying me with all the demands that came up during the time. But I gotta admit that at a certain point I was like very much ignoring this by any means. I just didn't focus on it, and that was really helpful. And yeah, as you can see, this is how I tried also to connect all the main roads into the areas. Like, one thing I have to admit though as well is with this huge, like, it basically, the two circles are like the biggest roundabouts you can have, you know. These are ginormous roundabouts, if you will, and you have to create certain areas where they can, you know, jump off of these areas. And it was quite hard to ensure that they can move rather quickly to these suburban areas and then move also very nicely within these suburban areas. And I wanted to create still a feeling of these being little districts, you know, not really like one entire map that is kind of spammed with roads. I wanted to make it feel like having smaller districts so that people really can identify with the part of the island they live in. So you've kind of the central suburban area, then you've got this one here very close to the main city, which sits in between all the junctions and all the main connections to the land over here. I may also add that there is only one highway connection into the city, which is a hot mess, and it creates like the ginormous traffic jam at some points. But since it's below ground, I don't really care. And it's kind of good too, because it just limits the amount of traffic going in, at least for a couple of minutes, because otherwise the overflow of traffic would be even worse. But you know, for those of you with the eagle-eyed cities experience will of course have already seen that at the beginning of the video in this little clip I brought in, because you can see people despawning there because of the traffic jam being so heavy. There are a couple of ideas I had to fix it, but honestly, as this is a one-off, I didn't want to make it like inch perfect, because as you know, this is what takes the longest. This already took me over, like, I don't know, almost 10 hours to build this entire thing over here. So with all the little fixes and, you know, making sure that the whole city grows and stuff like that, I would say out of these 10 hours, at least 3 of them were unoccupied, where I just let the city grow. I still believe this is a bit of an area where Colossal Order can really improve, or Paradox can improve dramatically by just giving us an option to speed forward a bit better, at least with the trees and stuff. I know they are already mods for it, and at this point, maybe let's just, while we are putting in a lot of special buildings at the beginning and making sure that the infrastructure is set, let's quickly talk about mods. I know that there are great mods out there. My fingers are itching. But at the other side, I'm also like, oh my god, this is now again the situation I didn't want to encounter. My biggest issue with City Skylines 1 was that at some point I lost track of all the different mods available and all the different ways of installing them, and then of all the mods not working together. And then, I mean, later on we had some mod installers that helped us finding out where the exact mods work together or not. But now we are in this state again where there's like different sources of mods, and some of which work simple, some of which are a bit more complicated, some of which are like only on hotkeys, and other ones are like very nice mods, you know. And I know that many of those in a couple of weeks will be inevitable to play this game in a good way, or maybe even inevitable to make people watch this game. But as I said, it just kind of hurts me that this is already the state of the game after not even 3 months, because they messed up the launch and in a way the way mods will be implemented, or at least the communication of that, or maybe even the roadmap. I don't know what it exactly is, but yeah, you know, by now we should have already had maybe an update, but I totally understand that they are not bringing out the update in the current state of the game, performance-wise and stuff like that. Even though I still have to add, as always, that I really don't encounter these performance issues. I would say, though, that the graphics are not as good as they used to be at the beginning, which honestly, I hope they can improve along the way, because Cities 1 with mods looks amazing. So this game over here can also look amazing, by the way, and you can see that on some of the shots I have at the end. But yeah, let's quickly talk about zoning, because that's rather important. As I planned the whole thing out at the beginning without even having anyone grow or seeing anything of the demand, I tried to do my best to just kind of figure out how exactly this all will grow. And you can see I spare out some areas towards the beach side so that they're not, you know, growing inside of the water, which honestly will be kind of problematic at the end anyways, because yeah, I don't know why exactly the water level raised during the entire build. I'm not sure if it's because of rain, because that was very drastic at some point. Again, you'll see that later on in the time lapse. So I don't know, it's been a very weird situation to see the city grow and then have the water level raise. But as you can see, I'm just trying my best here to avoid buildings growing inside of the water area, but I was also trying to do my best. And this is where the city is starting to grow, and you can see all the little buildings pop up. From now on, we are in the cozy part of this build today, because that is eventually exactly what is going on now. The city is growing for the next couple of minutes, and I just wanted to use the situation to talk about this build and City Skylines state of game at the moment, while you can see the mesmerizing build in the background here. Honestly, I still enjoy playing this game a lot. You can see this by all the different series I have started, or all the different things I did. It just brought me so much fun building these cities with a lot of tools that we didn't have in Cities 1 vanilla, and we needed to have mods installed for. And maybe this is exactly the point why I am enjoying this game so much over most of the other people out there, since I haven't really been that kind of mod person towards the end of the lifespan of Cities Skylines 1, due to the fact that it was way too annoying to get them all installed all the time. And I'm just pretty much enjoying this game as it is right now, because of the simplicity and still the power of the tools already in the base game. And I'm really hoping that with Paradox mod tool, we are going to have best of both worlds. This is what I'm really looking at. What I can say, though, is that the way this game already behaves at this point, and the foundation, even after a couple of weeks now, I still do think it's really good. I do think it's definitely such a more, you know, elaborate and so much more well thought of foundation in comparison to Cities 1, that I'm actually really happy to have this game at hand at this point. For me personally, this is more like a learning phase at this point, trying out all the different things that could be working, trying to find limitations, trying to find ways to overcome these limitations with the given tools in game, and then hoping that these tricks I learned along the way will become obsolete as soon as possible due to better mods and making this even better. But the way creativity works at some point is that when you find a solution to a problem, it's not even a problem if there is a better solution in the future, because you've made this way there once and you know exactly what it took to get there, and then you will be able to use newer and better tools to create even better things, because you have been there, you know exactly the way. But if you don't play it and then you just jump into cold water, so to say, it's going to be a bit more hard to just understand what you're doing effectively. And I really hope that due to me playing this game so much right now, I really am in a position to create really great things once there are even better mods out. But just to name a few I'm really missing at this point, like honestly, some of which I really hope that these are the ones we get first. Like Move It has to be the one that I'm missing the most. Move It is one of these things I really do miss the most. But then also I need some ploppables, man. I need some ploppables, especially ploppable asphalt is one. I know I can do this with the dev tools, but something way more easy in the UI that I can use during my build would be absolutely freaking amazing. Also, what just kind of is lacking is the amount of bridges and different types of tunnels, for example, just like typical city inventory, if you will. There's like really a lack of these kind of things. And then obviously we have to talk about like seaside things, you know, making beaches, making sure that you have some really nice keys and stuff like this is lacking at this point, and I really would love to have something like that. But another thing that has to be named is definitely the parallel roads tool is great, but we need something else like that. We need some better units to measure the roads. Even though the road system is pretty good, I have the feeling without the mod that is already out there, but with the classic way of the measurement method, it just doesn't work in the game. I have no idea why, but the measurement is broken and I have no idea what exactly it is. So I really hope they bring back the old kind of units to understand exactly how long I build certain things. And yeah, what we also need to have is definitely some types of networks to place trees and stuff to make it really prop line tool is something I would also basically need here. Just that would be absolutely amazing to have. So yeah, these are like the basics, but other than that, and since we already know that we will get this, I mean, most definitely I'm looking forward to having more building styles, because I'm already starting to be a bit tired of North America and Europe, to be honest. I just kind of stopped mixing them, because like they're so similar and it still looks kind of the same, that I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna either from North American or Europe at this point, just to get a bit of continuity in there. But on the other hand, it just doesn't really change too much from the city phase at this point. The best thing to differentiate your cities from each other is by the chosen location. And speaking of location, I think the next thing that I definitely miss the most is like some proper different textures for landscaping and terrain painting. Oh my goodness me, am I bored of grass. Of grass. Like, why can't we have like some other proper like textures to also make some nicer, you know, elevations where we can start customizing the way how the rocks look and stuff like that, paint some beaches ourselves, or maybe even make some sand pits or whatever. That would be so lovely to have. But yeah, there's so much I could talk about. I still believe that the foundation of the game is great, and I'm also, I don't know how about you, but I just really enjoyed watching the city grow in a much quicker speed now, because I didn't see that. I just left the computer. I was hoping that my computer didn't crash, because then I would have needed to make it run just another time. I was actually pretty brave here. I even recorded the video in MP4. So, you know, for those of you who don't know, that means if the computer crashes, the video file most likely is broken too. I mean, there are ways to repair it, but it just really doesn't really work that often, simply because I don't want to spoil my hard drive too much. But yeah, here we go. This is the final state of the city. And the state of the city, I'll leave it in. I hope you guys enjoyed this little challenge. This, as you can see, is the city as it turns out, and you can see from a couple of shots now that especially in these more suburban residential areas, everything is nice. The traffic is flowing and everything grew nicely, and there's not really that big of a difference compared to a normal city. But I have to admit that, like, especially getting the public transport laid out perfectly is really the hardest part of doing a one-way city. I really do think it is a very hard part, simply because you're forced to get always one lane and one-way direction, and then sometimes the automatic pathfinding is terrible, honestly, and then you need to change certain roads back into the other direction, and then you just kind of destroy the entire thing. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I really had a fun challenge doing so, and just tell me in the comments if you want to see a bit more of this city. By the way, this is the hardest part of the city when it comes to traffic. Just join for a second. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to check out some games via Instant Gaming if you fancy having some new updates or whatnot. But now have a good time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.